Welcome to this edition of Backstage Pass with Lia Chang. I'm your host, Lia Chang. MCC Theater's world premiere of Douglas Lyon's Table 17, helmed by Jalen Livingston, starred Biko Eisenmartin, Michael Rishawn, and Tony Award winner Kara Young at MCC Theater's Susan and Ronald Frankel Theater last September. Last November, the play won 2 AUDELCOs, including Best Playwright for Douglas Lyons and Best Ensemble. Kara and Michael just won 2025 Lucille Lortel Awards for Outstanding Leading Performer and Outstanding Featured Performer in a Play, respectively. Michael has also been nominated for an Outer Critics Circle and Drama Desk for Outstanding Featured Performer in a Play and a Drama League Distinguished Performance Award. I am sitting here at this marvelous table at Effie's on York with the marvelous Michael Rishawn, one of the breakout stars of Table 17. How did Table 17 come into your life?
Table 17 came into my life. The playwright Douglas Lyons, who's a very good friend of mine, I believe back in July of 2023, he came to me with like 40 pages of what this play inevitably would be. And he was like, hey brother, can you actually hop on a Zoom call with 2 other actors, and I just want to hear some of the pages. And the 3 of us gave voice to his words, essentially, and Mark Cortali of Newark's Provincetown commissioned Douglas to do the piece.
Okay.
We had a week-long, like 29-hour developmental workshop in Provincetown. We then presented it, and it was received really, really well. So Mark decided to bring it to New York. And then by the time we got to New York, some new folks had joined the piece, Kara Young and Biko Eisenmartin. And I remember with our trio, directed by Jalen, written by Douglas, we had another presentation in the city, and Jeffrey Richards happened to be in the audience. And from the outset, like from the reception of that particular presentation, Jeffrey took a liking to the piece and also helped to shepherd it.
So he was very supportive of Table 17.
Super. Well, Douglas's writing is really, it's really immediate. The nuance that he writes with, as well as the urgency of whatever the character's needs are, it's very immediate on the page. For Table 17 in particular, for me, I was able to actually hear their voices.
Wow.
All 3 of them. It's a love letter that speaks about how do we as humans love each other, and is love enough? The play asks, is love enough? Can love be real if it ends, or is it only rich when it lasts? And so the play explores and follows these 2 lovers, Jada and Dallas, who are exes, and they come back together at Table 17 after about 2 years apart. And they're basically rehashing all of the stuff within their relationship to see if love still is there. And the audience goes on a journey where they, the play is really going in terms of like attachment styles and like he said versus she said, and it really examines what does it mean to actually really love one another, and also what does it really mean to forgive another as well.
And the 3 characters that you played were?
Yes, and the 3 characters that I played was River, who is the host that seats the couple at Table 17 at the restaurant. I also play a straight bartender whose name is Mason. Very problematic. Mason is very problematic.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Oh my God. And then I also play a 3rd character, Eric, who is also a part of the love triangle between Jada and Dallas. So he's the love interest to Jada, the other love interest.
Now you have had quite a time in different mediums
I have.
Yeah. I got to see a little clip of your BUNK'D. Can we talk about BUNK'D?
Yes. That was my very first TV show.
For Disney.
For Disney Plus, and also Netflix. And it was, I had been trying so hard to break into TV, and it wasn't happening for me. And I had actually made the choice that I was like, I'm done with acting. I can't do this. This is too hard. I had been bouncing between New York and LA with all of the strikes and COVID, and I was just like exhausted. And I remember the moment that I had decided that I was like, I'm done with acting. I'm gonna move in a different direction. This tape came in from the show called BUNK'D, and I remember I taped it with one of my good friends from college, and it was like a quick one-off. I didn't think too much about it. And within a couple of days, my agent called me and was like, hey, you have a producer session. And I was like, what is a producer session? I don't know what that is. Hopped on the producer session with the producers and did my callback more or less. And I remember when I got off of the call, I was like, I'm not gonna get it. Like, I didn't know what I was doing, and I felt like it showed up on the tape. And as I was preparing to go back to LA, to move out of LA, I remember I went through customs at the airport, and I was on my way to the gate. And as I was about to step onto the plane, my agent called again, and I was like, hey, what's up? And he was like, hey, you booked it. And I was like, booked what? And he was like, BUNK'D. You've got a week's worth of work. And then he started going through all the deal points with me. And I just remember literally screaming at the top of my lungs in the airport. And like, all of these people started staring at me, and I just like fell to my knees and started crying because it was truly like the culmination of literally like years of striving, and all sort of rolled up into one moment.
Right.
And I thought that I was preparing to leave LA when actually LA was there was a job being prepared for me. And I stepped on the set, did the thing, and it was amazing because I had also realized that I had dreamed it as well. And so there were a couple of moments when I was on set shooting the show, and I was having a bird's eye view moment of like, Michael was in the thing, but also Michael was also looking above it at the same time, and my body was just like buzzing. And I left the set feeling so full and affirmed and just really appreciative because it was a major win for me.
Now your character in BUNK'D is quite a colorful one.
Yeah, Teddy Star. He's definitely a star.
He gets to have he gets to have so much fun within the context of the storyline.
Totally. It's funny because I actually who I studied was actually Kanye West for that.
Really?
Yeah, because Teddy Star is this like high profile shoe designer.
Okay. That
comes back to Dusty Tush and does a shoe drop. And I was like, okay, so he's into fashion, he's a little off kilter a bit, and I was like, who could I mimic this off of? And Kanye actually was the first person that came to mind. So there's a little bit of elements of Kanye. I didn't actually start acting until I was in my junior year of high school. And the reason why I say I was a bit of a late bloomer was because I was on a very specific track to play soccer. I was raised as an Air Force brat, and so, my parents had me overseas. I was born in Guam, raised in the Philippines.
Okay.
And we moved around like every 2 to 3 years. And so all the changes that were happening were normal for me, but a way to sort of like ground myself, like soccer was like the through line for me.
Because you could do it anywhere.
I could do it anywhere.
You could do it in any of the schools.
Right.
And
the rules don't really change.
And you must have been so good that you were automatically accepted to whatever team and new school that you started at.
I actually was pretty good. I was actually, I'm not gonna lie, I was actually like very good.
Hello.
Soccer was like life. And I remember it was my junior year of high school, and I had to fulfill my credits, I had to take like, an artistic class or whatever, and I remember I chose to do choir. And there was a good friend of mine who was very active in the theater community, and he was like, bro, you should come and do this like one-act play festival that the school is putting on. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, no, it'll be like 2 weeks of your time, like it's a quick, easy thing. And I was like, bro, like I've got a scrimmage, like I can't, like I'm not trying to do that. I don't even know what that is. Basically, I like decided to do it, and I remember as soon as I stepped on stage and they gave us the audition or whatever it was that we were supposed to be reading from, and as soon as I did my take on the character, I remember distinctly the reaction that I was getting from the people watching me. They were just laughing, and I remember that moment in particular was what shifted everything for me. That connection with the audience, that I could have there was a conversation that was happening in that moment, and I became obsessive about wanting to audition in all of the plays and just wanting to learn about what this thing was. And then that's when I decided to apply to drama school, and from there it's pretty much, the rest is history. Now we're here. So
of the places that you studied at, which would you say was your most formative?
My most formative was the Hart School, University of Hartford, the Hart School in Connecticut. I think because I was so green and so fresh, I was a sponge, and I just wanted to soak up and learn everything that my teachers had to give to us. And I just remember being so enthralled and so enamored of what this thing was, acting in the theater and just acting as a craft. I became obsessed with it, and was I want to play everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
What have been your 3 most favorite roles?
Wow. Okay.
Doesn't have to be theater. Could be any of the mediums.
Could I say Table 17?
You
the
could
3 roles.
Totally Table 17, because we're sitting at the table to talk about Table 17.
Oh wow.
Oh, you're just saying the 3 roles of Table 17?
Because there's 3 roles in the piece. I would say River is definitely one of them from Table 17. The second would be I did a play called Wig Out by Terrell McCraney.
I saw the pictures.
And that was a transformative experience for me. So Nina Wilson would be the second. And then the third would be third one. Yikes, that's hard. I guess there's a role that I would love to play, and I'm just going to manifest it right now.
Let's manifest it. We're going to put it out. What is it? What do you want next?
I think I would love to share my take on Hamlet.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
Hear that, casting directors? Michael wants to play Hamlet. You know he can play anything after the success of Table 17, so hello.
Yeah.
Now, you got to make your Broadway debut in Ain't No More, and I'd love to hear what that experience was like for you and what it meant to you.
Oh my God.
And to be up on the stage as Peaches.
Yes.
Right?
So I covered Peaches, and then I also covered Marshawn Davis, who was Passenger 2, Passenger 3, right? And my debut was actually for Marshawn's track.
Okay.
And I remember I decided to go to the theater pretty early that day, just because. And so I went to the theater, and I was going through the play like I normally do. And by this time, we were nearing the end of the run. So I was like, I got my Broadway credit, I'm in and out, I'm gonna get back to LA, mission accomplished. And I said, cool. So I went to the theater as if I wasn't gonna be going on. And I remember I got to my dressing room, I'm going through the play as normal, and within 10 minutes of that text message, I hear a banging on my door. And I'm like, what's going on? I open the door, and my SM is like, you're on. And I'm like, what? They're like, you're on. So immediately, I think by that time, it was probably about 10 to 15 minutes before curtain. So they held the show. I went to the wig department. I got into all the costumes. And then the cast was like, what do you need to hit like before we actually do this thing. And so we went through a couple different moments in the play, and I just remember like they were like, are you good? And I was like, yeah, I'm good. And then they were letting the audience in, and I got into the preacher, because the preacher opens the show with that like 4-page monologue. Or 4-page sermon. And I was standing behind the scrim, and when Peaches comes on the intercom, she's like letting the audience know, like, you can like talk back to the play, like, and just like really setting the tone and setting the atmosphere of what people were about to see. And I was behind the scrim, and I remember the scrim came up, and I remember I said a quick prayer and was like,
appropriate. You're the preacher.
Truly. And was like, God, you got me. And I just let it rip. And
was it like flying?
It was one of the most out-of-body experiences I've ever had in my life, where like presence was so, I was super present. I had to be, because I had not done the play in its entirety up until that moment.
Right, because when you're in understudy rehearsal, they're really like just running your scenes, or...
Yeah, I mean, like, you're basically watching. You're watching and observing. And then when you do have the understudy rehearsal, you're hitting your marks. You're there to make sure that the show keeps going.
Right.
If, in instance, like someone has to drop out, you can fit
Step
right
right
in,
in.
and it doesn't affect the show.
Wow.
And so I had been watching and studying Marchand and what he was doing and all of what he had crafted for the piece. And then from there, it's like the scrim went up, and we started the show, and I just remember being like, whew, like I was so thankful to have gotten through it. I'm so proud of myself, but also it was gnarly. Like, it was gnarly. Because I had about like 15 minutes to prep.
Right. And had you ever understudied a role before?
I had never understudied before, especially at the scale of Broadway.
Right, because I hear that it really takes a certain kind of fortitude to be an understudy. Especially when you're doing several tracks. I mean, you have to...
Yeah, and I don't think Ain't No Mo is like a normal play, right? It's a mountain of a work that Jordan created, and I think as an understudy, just in general, mentally, you are constantly at the ready, because anything could happen at any moment.
Sure.
Even mid-show, something could happen to an actor, and then you have to go on right from where the play is at. And so there is a sense of like tension always sort of being in the body and in the mind, because you just don't know when you're going to be called upon. So, the understudy is there to make sure that the show keeps going, and thankfully the show, Ain't No Mo, kept going. Thankfully.
Woo.
Yeah.
Now, so BUNK'D was your first television experience, but you also worked on FBI.
Yeah. Really, really grateful. I work really hard.
Yes.
At this point, I think I'm learning to work smarter, not harder at times. I also know that I would not be where I am without very specific people who have helped me to get to where I am.
Would you like to thank any of them?
Oh my God, I mean, the list. Okay, first of all, my Heavenly Father upstairs, my mother, who I feel is constantly looking down on me in whatever space I walk into, Douglas Lyons, Devere Rogers, Tommy Hobson, my UCSD gang, you know who you are, Amara Grandison, OJ Fiki, Jada, DeLeon, Jordan, like, these are very specific people that have just really helped me. My team of agents who are constantly advocating for me, and even the casting directors, Erica A. Hart, Bernie Telsey, like, these are very specific people that have really helped to be creative components in helping me build a life as an actor in this unconventional way, because so many people don't believe that, this career and this art form that you can actually really make a living, and I'm actually living proof that you can. But I have had some amazing opportunities TV-wise, during table, I'll be on season 2 of Survival of the Thickest with Michelle Buteau. I'm in the pilot episode of Tracy Morgan's new show called Crutch on Paramount Plus. I have a scene with him, and most recently, which was a dream come true, working with Michael Patrick King and Sarah Jessica Parker in And Just Like That on HBO Max for season 3 of her show.
So you mentioned one of the things that's on your wish list, which is Hamlet.
Yeah.
But do you have any other, I know you're so young, but bucket list kind of, directors or shows or mediums that you want to work on?
I really love TV. I really, really, really love just how TV works. I'm ready to lead a television series. As far as like what I would like to call forth for my life and my career, definitely leading a new television show. I aspire to work with really skilled craftsmen and craftswomen, like just really skilled artisans, legends of our business. I've sort of been doing that, and it's really cool just to be able to share time and space with those people. I learned so much from them. And I also think that I just want to build a body of work that is really impactful to the world, and really is inspiring to people that witness it.
Who have you taken inspiration from in your career and your life path?
Coleman Domingo is someone that is like a huge standout for me. I feel like I'm in the lane of.
Have you met him?
Oh yeah, many times.
So you guys have had conversations?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
completely.
good.
Yeah,
he's great.
Just him, Coleman as a human, and also like how he's moved through this industry, and the work that he does.
And how he's very honest about the steps.
Yes, and it's been like 10,000 hours for him. Like he's put in the work. I would say Coleman. I would also say, James Earl Jones is someone who I consider in high regard. Meryl Streep, I would love to work with her. She's like a consummate artist, and I'm sure we would have like a lot of fun. Sophie Okonedo, Ryan Murphy, director-wise, why am I forgetting his name? He did The Nick. Which Coleman was on. Steven Soderbergh. I would love to work with Soderbergh. I also like. I know this is like it's shooting right now, but like Avatar would be really cool to be in. So I have a lot of goals and a lot of dreams, and hopefully,
Well, you've done a few commercials.
Yes.
You model.
I've shot for some very, very big brands: Bose, Hennessy, Verizon. I don't model as much anymore now, but
you'll occasionally allow people to take your photograph and be paid for it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because why not?
There was something else that was interesting, motion capture.
Oh, it's the most coolest thing ever to do.
Can we tell them what exactly you've done and what it entails?
Yeah, so motion capture and or face capture is basically a style of storytelling where if you think of movies and films like Avatar, even video games, where like actors will go into the studio and they'll put on like this blue suit that sort of covers their entire body, and there's like a minuscule camera that's hooked up to a rig, and it sort of like it basically copies like all of the movements that the actor does in real time.
When did you start doing it? How long have you been doing it?
I've been doing it since 2021 when I moved out to LA.
Okay.
Officially.
And is it a particular show or video game or?
I've done most of my motion capture work is in video game land, and so I've done a lot of motion capture work for motion capture and face capture for the WWE 2K video game franchise, which is also really nuts to be a part of because like you go into the studio, you put on the helmet or the suit, and they give you the image of the character that you're going to be voicing.
Right.
And so I have a couple days to sort of like create something based off of just the image.
Okay.
And then you go into the studio and the directors are on the call and you're watching the screen in real time. And so like I'm watching this character like do a backflip off the ropes, or like he's gonna like do a double axel on like somebody's head, and you just like see the video game in real time happening.
Okay.
And you give voice to the character.
Wow.
It's a really cool way
Fun.
of storytelling. Yeah, super. And it's also like video games, they pay really, really, really well. So I also, you know, it's always nice to get the check from that.
The other thing that you do is Audible.
Oh yeah, audiobooks. Yeah.
When did that start?
I was in this play called Handjob at the Echo Theater in LA, and I guess I was scouted randomly, and she was like, "You have a really great voice. I think you might be really good at this." And I remember my audition, I took this like page, I took like a chapter from The Chocolate War, and I went into the studio, laid down the audio, and they were like, "Yep, we love you." And so I got onto the roster, and I have a lot of different titles ranging from like YA to historical fiction to romance, and I also do erotica as well. So that's a whole different, it's a whole different beast.
Oh my goodness.
And you'll never know it's me. Yes, so shortly after I graduated from the Hart School, my very first professional job was actually at the Shakespeare Theater of DC. It was their apprenticeship program, and I was under the tutelage of Michael Kahn. And I was there for about a year working in rep. We had worked on Much Ado About Nothing, Merry Wives, a Eugene O'Neill piece that's leaving my mind, and Two Gentlemen of Verona. And the apprenticeship program is like, we're working in rep with the actors that had been hired for each show.
Happy note. Thank you for joining me for this edition of Backstage Pass with Lia Chang. Michael, I'm so glad we had this time to catch up.
Thank you for the time.
Until next time.
Bye.